Hello, Archie Dunlop here with Talking Astrology with Archie on Friday, December the 22nd, 2023. There has recently been a shooting in the Czech Republic, I think in the vicinity of Jan Palach Square. That's in Prague. I think in the sort of university district. Does it have a university district? I think close or around to Charles University. The shooting has happened quite recently, so we don't really know very much about what has happened, but I believe people have been killed. I believe that the shooter has been eliminated. I think that was the word used by the Prague police. And so I want to look at the astrology of the event. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything particularly dramatic about it, but there is an event. If you're in Prague, it's a very big event. You don't expect shootings in the Czech Republic in the same way as you might expect them in the United States, although I think gun ownership in the Czech Republic is certainly much higher than it is, for example, in the United Kingdom or Japan. So that's my topic for today. But before I look at the shooting in Prague, I want to look at the astrology and I Ching for today, which is Friday, December the 22nd, 2023. Top right, that is the Czech flag. And just a reminder that I'm looking at an event in the Czech Republic, so it seems reasonable to have a Czech flag up there. Okay, so what's happening today, which is Friday? Overall, I think it could be quite a good day. If you look at the noon chart set for New York, you can see that the sun is at 0 degrees 34 minutes Capricorn. In other words, the winter solstice has happened, at least from a perspective of the Northern Hemisphere. So if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, from now on, the days are just going to get longer. In other words, the time of daylight is just going to get longer and longer and longer. So that is that's pretty important, and it is a big shift moving from Sagittarius to Capricorn. Sagittarius can be quite an ill-disciplined sign. It's a fire sign. It can say what's on its mind. It doesn't care who it offends. Yet Capricorn is more refined and dignified. You're moving from a fire sign into an earth sign. So we should notice an immediate change. And this is made more noticeable by the fact that the moon has recently gone into an earth sign. So the moon was in Aries, but you can see noon New York time, the moon is now at 8 degrees Taurus. So you've got the sun and the moon in earth signs. So it's a very down-to-earth day. It's a day when we can focus on, material details. We can look at our finances. From a career perspective, we can make good progress. So I think it's a solid day when we should find that the people around us are going to be more reliable. Things are made better by the fact that the moon has just gone into Taurus. That means that the moon is conjunct Jupiter. So you've got moon conjunct Jupiter in Taurus. So the moon really is in a fantastic position. The moon is exalted in Taurus, and it's strengthened by its proximity to Jupiter, which is the planet of good luck. So from an emotional perspective, we can really ground ourselves. So if there have been, recent issues, recent insecurities, instabilities, etc., the moon in Taurus really does allow us to ground ourselves. And I think in terms of relationships, I know a lot of people checking their daily astrology, are interested in relationships, whether it's existing relationships or new ones. Moon Jupiter conjunction is fortunate in that sense. It allows people to get on well, not on just a verbal level, but on an emotional level, being comfortable with each other. And particularly when you have the moon making a trine aspect to the sun. The moon, 8 degrees Taurus in a trine aspect of the sun. Okay, how close that trine is depends on where you are. If you're in the Americas, that trine is separating, but if you're in Australia, New Zealand, it's going to be very still be very powerful. And when you've got the sun and the moon in this favorable aspect, trine aspect, as I say, with the sun and moon, and when they're like this, it's like the sun is the masculine, the moon is the feminine, and they're in balance. They relate well to each other. So there is a general sense of harmony today. Now, if there's anything wrong with today, if there's any problem, I would have said it might be to do with Mercury. Mercury is now very weak. Mercury, is the planet of communication. We already know it's retrograde, but now it is. Well, there's a controversy here. You can see that the Sun and Mercury are very close to each other. Now, there is a view when the Sun gets, when Mercury gets really close to the sun, it's known as being combust. When it's 8 degrees from the sun, it's seriously weakened because it is combust. But if it gets really, really close to the sun, like within 17 arc minutes, like now it is, noon, New York, it's about 13 arc minutes, so it's within that 17 arc minutes. It is cazimi. Now, cazimi is something in astrology where something is so close to the sun that it is no longer burnt by it. So, as a planet, the cazimi theory would go that as a planet gets closer and closer to the sun, it gets more and more damaged. It gets burnt up. I mean, that's completely logical, isn't it? But when it gets right close to the sun, it's like on the same wavelength. So there's a moment where it's exactly on the same wavelength, when this thing which is overwhelming us is no longer overwhelming us. It becomes part of us. It becomes who we are. It becomes part of our fundamental self-expression. And so maybe there's a magical moment of cazimi when we're in the center of the flames, or Mercury is in the center of the flames, and we're not harmed. Something like that. So maybe because the Sun and the Mercury are on the same wavelength, Mercury is not being damaged, and so we may actually have very, very clear thoughts of a Capricorn nature about what we should be doing in a sort of business, financial sense. Okay, not just business and finance. It's a Capricorn, it's an earth sign, and we might have thoughts about how best to, plant stuff in the garden, for example. We might have an inspiration about landscape gardening or anything to do with earth. So think about that. And, if you do feel that this moment of complete clarity, then, make the most of it. So overall, it looks to me like being a very good day. And as you know, if you've looked at, if you've been following my videos, I'm usually balanced. I don't just say positive things for the sake of it. So if I say it's a good day, then maybe that means it really is going to be a good day. So that's the broad picture for for the astrology for today on December the 22nd. And what I want to do now is do my forecasts for the 12 signs. So here we go. Here are my forecasts for today, which is Friday, December the 22nd, 2023. Aries. As the week draws to a close, you start revving up. Not in a crazy way, but instead you're thinking about the opportunities coming your way and also the financial aspects of it all. You feel that you have to do something, and you're probably right. And perhaps, while other people are distracted, you'll be able to make an important move. Taurus. Things are starting to line up for you. The moon is in your star sign, not only exalted, but also conjunct Jupiter, and trine the sun in Capricorn. You'll be lucky, and you can end up in the right place at the right time. Also, you can use the energies of the solstice to reconnect with the mystical and the supernatural. The message is so close, you can touch it. Gemini. You're somewhat overwhelmed. Mercury, your ruling planet, is conjunct the sun. Ongoing events are difficult to understand, and even when you ask for clarification, you might be none the wiser. Also, things connected with emotion could completely floor you. So try to understand your weaknesses, and if possible, remain within your comfort zone. Cancer. Right now, you're in a good position. You'll have no problem relating to other people, and there'll be something about you that's reassuring. And certainly you can get everyone's trust. It's therefore important to have a high-profile social life, and if necessary, you can cultivate important contacts. In one-to-one relationships, you bring out the best in the other person. Leo. The sun, your ruler, is now in Capricorn. In the first instance, you might... let me start again. Leo. The sun, your ruler, is now in Capricorn. In the first instance, you might feel that the world is becoming more boring, but you yourself are becoming more powerful. Just think about it. You do have a clear ambition, and even if it seems crazy, this ambition, it does at least exist, and the conjunction between the moon and Jupiter can make things happen. Virgo. A mixed picture. On one hand, it will be hard work making sense of your environment, and there could be both deception and false leads. Yet the moon in Taurus is making a fantastic aspect to the sun in Capricorn, which nicely triangulates your star sign. Once you knock on the right door, just about anything is possible. Libra. You've got powerful feelings, and you mustn't bottle them up. They need to be put to work or applied to something. Fortunately, the moon is making a brilliant aspect to the sun and Mercury, which gives you the grounding you have been looking for. From a career perspective, it may be right before Christmas, but you can do some useful stuff, perhaps in terms of research. Scorpio. It's important to give consideration to other people, not just out of politeness, but because other people have got so much to offer, and the right partnership could benefit you in many different ways. At the same time, you're able to communicate your desires very well, especially those desires relating to money and career. Sagittarius. Self-discipline is important. Like yesterday, there will be distractions, but you should be better able to deal with them. And because the moon is making a conjunction to Jupiter, your understanding of details can give you a clear advantage. Indeed, you'll notice things that other people miss. Capricorn. The sun is now in your star sign, where it receives a favourable aspect from the moon. You're in a positive frame of mind, and it does seem that there's a great deal that you can achieve. but you don't have to try too hard. Just be yourself and don't say more than you have to. Indeed, too much talking can spoil the magic. Aquarius. Where are you going to be most comfortable? With the moon aspecting both Jupiter and Saturn while moving through Taurus, the emphasis is on familiarity. You don't want to be embarking on new adventures, and the place you'll be happiest is the place you know best. Partners have similar priorities. Pisces. Today, there's a gentle buzz of communication, messages being sent, and perhaps short, inconsequential journeys. But there's nothing you really have to do. You can join the party if you want, but if you want to take a rain check, no one's going to mind. But there's one person who finds it difficult to express themselves, and you might have to provide a helping hand. So that's today from a perspective of astrology. So what I want to do now is look at today from a perspective of the I Ching. So I asked the question, what is Friday going to be like for those watching this video? And the first hexagram I got was hexagram 55, which is abundance. So abundance is quite a good hexagram. It's about the peak of civilization. It's about where we have everything, where everything is available. So on the surface it looks good, but there's a sort of a warning there with abundance. The Wilhelm translation of the I Ching talks about be not sad like the midday sun. Now, what does that mean? At midday, the sun is at its highest. It doesn't go any higher. After midday, afternoon, assuming you're not messed up by daylight saving time, afternoon, the sun goes down towards the western horizon. We start to see decline. And so this is a sort of situation where we can see many opportunities, but we're also aware that things are not going to last forever. We've got two moving lines here. We've got the bottom line moves and the third line moves. So the bottom line is saying that is talking about how we can take advantage of everything that's on offer, and it's saying that there are opportunities, especially if we can build the right relationship. There's someone out there we need to be in contact with in order to make the most of everything. I don't think we should worry too much about the power dynamic in this relationship. Maybe this person is, inverted commas, sort of superior to us, or in some way we regard that person as superior to us, but it doesn't matter. There is another person that can really, really help us out. Then the third line moves. This is a problem. It's abundance, yes, but abundance for who? It may not be for us. So there may be a situation where we cannot make our influence felt. Other people seem to be, other people seem to be enjoying themselves. Other people seem to be getting all the attention, but not us. And this might seem incredibly, maybe unfair. It's difficult. We might feel eclipsed. And it's just the way it is. It's not a long-term thing. It may be even a sort of a passing situation, perhaps lasting an hour or so, or something like that. And there is a hint here also with this third line. But in this time of abundance, we may be forced to do something we don't really want to do. I suppose, Friday, just before Christmas, people have social gatherings, parties, going to the pub, whatever. And I suppose if we're in that kind of situation, we might be forced to partake in something we don't really want to do. Um, and we just have to just accept the situation. Just because you're forced to go to a pub doesn't mean you have to have a drink. Um, so be aware of that. I mean, you might be in this kind of situation where you're just not happy. um, you don't want to do it, but somehow you don't have a choice. So watch out for that. And yeah, you might say, okay, if you can do something, you can always say no, but okay, it depends what you're being asked to do. But I'm thinking more. I think it's most likely to be some kind of social thing. I mean, harmless in the grand scheme of things, but as far as you're concerned, completely annoying. Um, and you might, when you look at the situation objectively, you might feel that it's best to just follow the crowd for the moment. So that's his first hexagram, and it does move. And it moves to hexagram number 16, which is, well, I say it's contentment. Now there are many translations of the I Ching. The Wilhelm translation calls this enthusiasm. The Greg Winkup's translation, he says it's contentment. So either way, contentment and enthusiasm, these are good words. I mean, it looks as if all those issues we talked about with abundance will clear up as the day progresses, and we can start to relax. We can, we can be more enthusiastic about the future. We don't have to actually do anything about it. Enthusiastic about maybe Christmas. Maybe we're looking forward to Christmas. Maybe we're looking forward to what happens after Christmas, the opportunities of 2024. So there is that enthusiasm, but there is a warning, and I think the warning comes. It comes through with Greg Winkup's translation, because he says, he talks about being content, but also being aware that things are going to start to get worse. Things are not get worse, but things are going to start to decay. And so in that sense, you've got a similar theme to hexagram 55, which was abundance. Be not sad at the midday sun. The sun will only go down from now on. We look around ourselves with contentment, and we can see things are okay now, but we can see that things are not going to stay like this forever. Maybe the calm will hold over Christmas, but as we move, maybe we'll start to realize that things are going to go against us very soon, or at least go against, maybe not even go against us, but go against society. So I think what we have to do with contentment is be relaxed, enjoy ourselves. Not, I don't say necessarily enjoy ourselves. We can be quietly enthusiastic, but also be aware that we have to start protecting ourselves. We can see how things might go wrong, and protection might be important. Now, that might actually relate to the long Christmas weekend. Christmas it can be a really bad time. I mean, you can get domestic breakdown, all sorts of bad things can happen. I'm not saying it's happening to us, but think about what could go wrong over Christmas. And rather than just relax on Friday, particularly late on Friday, do something about it. Maybe there's something you can do to protect yourself. So maybe, if Christmas is important in your family or in your life, think about how Christmas went wrong in the past, and think how you might be able to do something to make sure that Christmas doesn't go wrong again. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, that's the I Ching for today. Sorry to end on a slightly negative note. So what I want to do now is I quickly want to look at the shooting in Prague. I haven't researched it. There isn't much to research because it has really only just happened. So I mean, I'm absolutely not claiming that I'm going to come up with anything particularly dramatic. Okay, that's the chart for the Prague shooting. I've taken 3 o'clock. Apparently it happened in Jan Palach Square, and people have been killed. I believe the shooter has been killed as well. So what is going on in terms of a shooting? I mean, can you really see anything dramatic there? I think the most dramatic thing there is probably Mars on the 7th house cusp. Now, the Mars, there's Mars. That's the sort of perhaps the person doing the shooting. But Mars on the 7th house cusp. This happens. This happens every 24 hours. Mars is going to be on the 7th house cusp. So, in a sense, this is not a particularly big deal. Okay, Mars is moving towards a sesquiquadrate of Jupiter, but really that's not exact for a day or two. So that's probably not. That probably doesn't help us too much. But I suppose Mars on the 7th house cusp is a signature of a shooting. You could also say that the moon is trine Mars. So I suppose in the run-up to the shooting, we don't know what this shooter was doing as over the course of the day. I suppose you could say moon trine Jupiter might have I suppose embolden them. Moon in Aries is quite an assertive thing, and then you've got Chiron. I suppose Chiron was trying the descendant at 3 o'clock. Chiron is all the wounds and grievances perhaps that the shooter might have felt. So what I'm saying is that on the face of it, it doesn't look very impressive. It really does look as if there isn't really very much to say. Now, what I think it's important to do when you have an event like this, okay, it's a big event for today, but I mean, there's stuff going on in the Czech Republic all the time. This isn't the only tragedy or bad thing that will have happened in 2024. I'm sure there are car accidents every day where people get killed, and the net effect is just the same. But it's also often useful to look at the lunation prior to the event. So this is the lunation for December the 13th. 2023. So there was a new moon, and so I've set this new moon. I've set the new moon for Prague, and so there you can see the new moon at 20 degrees 40. Now, on the surface, it doesn't look as if much is going on. But I think it's worth looking at the midpoints. And at this stage, one planet that I'm particularly looking for or looking at is the hypothetical planet Zeus. Now, Zeus was one of those planets that the German astrologer Alfred Witter sort of discovered. But it is hypothetical, and it is connected with explosions and explosions and shootings and that kind of thing. So it might be a good idea to look at the midpoint. So I'm going to look at the 90-degree dial, and okay, so Zeus. The symbol for Zeus is there. So let's. So what? Before the time of computers, when they were trying to work with midpoints, they would actually have a dial like this. I mean, I can get a printout of the midpoints, and this is what they would do. So you would put the you put Zeus. You'd put. Well, that's not. Where's Zeus gone? I've lost Zeus. Zeus is. That's Zeus. Okay, so there is Zeus. Can you see that? And what's interesting about the configuration for the new moon is that there is the planet Uranus, and there we have the ascendant and the midheaven and the Aries point. Are all together here, and you got Uranus. So Uranus is sort of picking up the ascendant and the midheaven and the Aries point for the new moon, and Zeus, the planet of firearms, is right on that midpoint, and so I think that might have something to do with it. So Zeus on the Uranus ascendant, Zeus on the Uranus midheaven, Zeus on the Uranus Aries point midpoint. So I think we might get some indication there about why it might have happened there. And the ascendant and the midheaven is important because the ascendant and the midheaven together is the time and the place. So looking back if we go back to this chart, we can see that at the time of the previous new moon, we almost had the Aries point on the descendant. 29.8 Pisces, very close to 0 degrees Aries. We got midheaven 28.53 Cancer, Gemini, so very close to 0 degrees Cancer. So the cardinal points at the time of the lunation were lined up, and when we remember cardinal points. So now we can do a comparison of the time of the shooting with the time of the new moon. So let's. So I'm going to put the shooting in the middle, and I'm going to put the lunation so you can see here that the sun was at 29.26 Sagittarius at the time of the shooting. So it was opposition the midheaven of the moon. Of the previous new moon. Also, the previous new moon was at 2040 Sagittarius. So Mars was actually approaching the degree of the new moon. So in a way, the shooting does kind of link up with the previous new moon on December the 13th. And as I said, that new moon had the hypothetical planet Zeus was highly configured. It was hitting all those midpoints. So I think that might be some explanation of why the shooting happened when it happened. Having said that, I think it would have been pretty much impossible to predict the timing of this event, or this kind of whether or not this event would have happened. But I do think this shooting in Prague did kind of reflect what was going on. Anyway, that's not very satisfactory, but I thought I wanted to comment on the shooting. As I said, it's not you can't always expect to find the astrology of events to be wonderfully symbolic. There's enough there, but as I said, it's not very impressive. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this video interesting. If you enjoyed this video, then feel free to like it, or if you're not subscribed, then press the subscribe button. And if you want to buy me a coffee, there is a link in the description. And I will talk to you again tomorrow.